Russia collusion investigation. Fox getting a first look at a 2020 House Intel Committee report declassified by DNI Tulsi Gabbard. It says the 2016 Intel community did not have direct information that Russia was working to try and get President Trump elected. Griff Jenkins is live at the White House with all those details for us this morning. Hi, Griff.
Yeah, Jillian, good morning. It turns out the Intel community may not have had direct knowledge that Russian President Vladimir Putin wanted to elect Donald Trump. Fox News Digital obtaining a report declassified by DNI Tulsi Gabbard. It was prepared by the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence back in 2020, and it was based, Jillian, on an investigation launched by former House Intel Community Chairman Devin Nunes. Now, at the time of the publication of the report, Democrat Adam Schiff was the chairman of the committee. This report has never before been released to the public. It has remained highly classified within the Intel community. Now, this report states, among other things, that former CIA Director John Brennan, quote, ordered the post-election publication of 15 reports containing previously collected but unpublished intelligence, 3 of which were substandard, containing information that was unclear, of uncertain origin, potentially biased or implausible, and those became foundational sources for the ICA judgments that Putin preferred Trump over Clinton. This after President Trump yesterday in the Oval Office, where Obama once sat, accused him of being the Russiagate ringleader and called for him to be criminally investigated.
If you look at those papers, they have them stone cold, and it was President Obama. It wasn't lots of people all over the place. It was them too. But the leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama.
We don't often hear from former President Obama, but a spokesman releasing a statement saying these bizarre allegations are ridiculous and a weak attempt at distraction. Nothing in the document issued last week undercuts the widely accepted conclusion that Russia worked to influence the 2016 presidential election, but did not successfully manipulate any votes. These findings were affirmed in a 2020 report by the bipartisan Senate Intel Committee led by then Chairman Marco Rubio. So, Jillian, we are likely to have questions and hear more potentially from Caroline Levitt, who's set to brief in the briefing room today at 1 o'clock.
Guess what? Guess what? Guess what? What comes around does go around. Now here we are down underground, looking for Jim Comey's wig, uncovering something big. Like Big Mike, a honeypot, no better operation cross-dresser. Like Big Mike, they went off the books, now their balls are cooked. Like Big Mike, 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 Mike. Guess what? Guess what? Guess what? Guess what? Everything will be okay. Guess what day? What day? It's hump day. Get it on.
It's hump day, baby. Welcome to the show. Today, we are going to drop the bombshell. We figured it out. We have them dead to rights. The Trump administration has done incredible work on revealing Barack Obama, and we have the timeline, we've done the research, and we have it locked in today, baby. This is the day that we reveal absolutely everything. We have ripped this sucker open, done the research, pulled the clips, gone back into the archives, about a decade, and we have it. We got it. We got the tiger by the tail, baby. And it's going to be a wild show. Lock in and get ready. Today is Wednesday, July 23rd, 2025. Tulsi Gabbard, just moments ago, dropped confirmation of our reporting. We've been working on this for the last couple days, locking it all in, and we are very excited to prepare for you the timeline that proves definitively and demonstrably that Barack Obama and his team had predetermined that they were going to slander President Trump with a wrap-up smear Russian collusion hoax based on absolutely nothing other than their own vengeance and hatred for the American people and the will of the American people. Obama has responded in total panic and shockingly didn't dispute any of the allegations, which you would assume you would want to do if you had a case right? You just killed someone. Yeah, well, so, you're mean. Well, so you did kill someone? Like, that's what Obama just said. It's wild. James Comey also responding with a hostage video. Looks like it's his cameraman is a former ISIS member. We're going to play you all that. We have one of the targets of the Russia collusion hoax. In fact, the first target of the Russia collusion hoax, George Papadopoulos, will be on the show. And he'll be answering some really tough questions. Very interesting time. Senator Josh Hawley, back on the program. Very excited. He is the king of oversight in the Senate. RNC chairman Michael Whatley will be joining the show as well with a, Scrooge McDuck level money bag, because Republicans have like $100 million on Democrats right now going into this critical 2026 election cycle. It's going to be wild, but ladies and gentlemen, our hearts are full and so are our minds. And today is a day for truth. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Lock in to your future with gold. We've been talking about it. Gold is up 40% just year over year. We've been telling you about gold, and our friends at Advantage Gold can help you out. Obviously, gold is something that you just need to diversify into. That's all. That's all I've done. You need money-generating assets in your portfolio. So if you have just a little bit of gold, like me, I just have I have a little bit of exposure, right, to that. And this is like just being wise with the capital that you've been given and earned. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why you need to lock in right now. If you lock in right now, Advantage Gold will send you a brand new free book by IMF chief economist Kenneth Rogoff. The book is called Our Dollar, Your Problem, and it's about how the dollar is, being overprinted and it being printed really out of existence. Very important. Advantage Gold is giving away free copies of this urgent book when you schedule a one-on-one precious metals appointment. You can text Benny to 85545 today for that appointment. Protect your wealth with physical gold and silver, and see how you can receive $10,000 in free gold and silver when you qualify. Protect today. Text Benny to 85545. That's Benny to 85545, or visit AdvantageGold.com to claim your free copy. There's no cost, just the truth. Data and message rate supply performance may vary. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a solid gold show for you. We have something really important to share with you. Research that we've done with the help of some very wise and very brilliant minds that have been pointing us in the right direction. I'm massive fans. So many of the people in this space. Matt Taibbi is one of them, and he has a Substack here. His outlet's called Racket News. And he has a remarkable article that was published on July 19th. And this is sort of just a massive breakdown of the aftermath of what Tulsi Gabbard originally released. And Tulsi Gabbard has released brand new material today. We're going to get to that in just a second. But to understand the importance of that material, you have to do a little bit of homework. And we're going to do that homework right now. And I'm going to show you right off the top of the show the bombshell evidentiary demonstrable conclusion that not only was the Russia hoax created entirely by Barack Obama, but it was created with one sole purpose, which was an insurrection. The true insurrection happened on January 6th of 2017. The dates are very important. Let's rewind the clock back to December 9th, shall we, of 2016. And this is a critical date. I'm going to walk you through a step-by-step of how Barack Obama committed treason. And it's very important to put it in those terms because never in American history has an outgoing president launched an internal attack using the full weight and might of the organs of the United States Defense Department and intelligence agencies. This was a military attack on President Trump from the get. It cannot be understated or overstated how severe this all is. Let's read. On December 7th, 2016, Pearl Harbor Day, I guess you could say. If you want to talk about a major attack on America, here's another Pearl Harbor Day where a major attack on America occurred. James Clapper, he was the director of national intelligence at the time. He was preparing the text for the president's daily brief. This is called Activity on and Since Election Day. Get a load of the text. Please read. This is the declassified text of the president's daily brief that was already ready to go and was ready to be sent in to Barack Obama and to someone else. Wait till he get a load of this. We assessed that foreign adversaries did not use cyber attacks on election infrastructure and that the U.S. presidential election outcome this year, we have no evidence that cyber manipulation of election infrastructure intended to alter the results. And that last part is very important because motive is a valuable thing in the intelligence community. What is the motive exactly? Is the motive here to help Trump? Is it to hurt Trump? Is it to help Hillary? Is it to hurt Hillary? Is it just to be a menace? Which is really what Russia has done in all of our elections. It would just be a menace. If you go back, ALX, I love that old meme. Do we have that meme? The one of Jesus arm wrestling Satan? These were the stuff that Russia was creating in 2016 is hysterical. What was actually published and ascribed, and we don't really actually know, but to Russian state operators in 2016 is comically hysterical in its goofiness, and it's just Dennis the Menace level effery. That's all it was. Okay, it was just nonsense. That's what Russia was doing. Okay, and they've done that in every election, and they're just poke. In fact, most intelligence reports and many credible reports show that Russia actually didn't want Trump to win the election, that Russia wanted Hillary Clinton to win the election. They thought Trump was a loose cannon. They might actually lose big with Trump, that Hillary Clinton would be a much better, more diplomatic and easy to calculate leader in her actions and what she was going to do. She would just be a continuation of policies that have been quite good for Russia. Remember, this is when Russia had gone in and took over Ukraine the first time. They went and took over Crimea. Here, it's a good example. Here you go. Here's an example of Russia hacking the election. Satan, if I win, Clinton wins. Jesus, not a fucking hoping. Press to help Jesus. Okay. I mean, I click like on that. Don't get me wrong. Okay, whatever you think of this, this didn't win the election for Donald Trump, and this is not hacking the election. Okay, back to the article. All right, so they had it right, and they have declassified the president's daily brief. This is so unbelievably critical. The declassified president's daily brief says Russia didn't do anything. Nobody hacked the election, and the election results are true and honorable and righteous and legal, and nobody interfered. And nobody interfered in the election. That was what they drafted. That was true. Okay, that's a matter of fact. Here's why this is important and why this was pulled. This was pulled, and we got this from a very high source inside of the Trump administration. This was pulled because Donald Trump received this president's daily brief. Do you understand? A president-elect is entitled to the president's daily brief of the incoming president and the outgoing president. Once a president is elected, then they get the same briefing as Barack Obama. Donald Trump was going to get this briefing. General Flynn had already been read in on this briefing. This was going to be the paramount cornerstone document that proved that the bubbling up Russia collusion hoax was dead on arrival. And they were about to hand it to Donald Trump with the print and stamp of approval of the entire intelligence community, 17 agencies, FBI, CIA included, NSA, and so on. This was going to exonerate Trump forever, and it would be dead after this. This was the end of Russia collusion hoax. Whatever nascent variation of the Russia collusion hoax was happening at this time, which was virtually nothing. Nobody was really talking about Russia collusion at all. At all. Everybody had the Steele dossier. People had the Steele dossier in their newsrooms. It had been laundered to the FBI. It had been laundered to the CIA. It had been laundered to all newsrooms. The Hillary Clinton paid for Russian disinformation. But nobody published it because it couldn't be verified. You'd get your ass sued, like it's happening right now. You couldn't publish this. Even back then, it was seen so insane. Trump working with Russia to help him win the election was seen as so absurdist that no right person, not even people at like BuzzFeed, Washington Post, New York Times, CNN, they all had the Steele dossier. None of them published it, and none of them went with Russia helped Trump. We know this because we have the original source documents. You can go back into the pages of the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal and the Washington Post and CNN, and you can find the documents. You can see what was being broadcast on TV, and our show and our producers have watched hundreds of hours of this, scraped all of the available media, gone through all of the front pages, and there was nothing on this date, December 7th, 2016. Nothing about Russia helping Trump. Nah. Zip. Zero. And Trump was about to get the final word right here from this President's Daily Brief. Trump was about to get, not Obama. Trump was about to get it, okay? Obama gets it as well. They both get briefed. Here we go. So the total exoneration was about to hit Trump's desk. And then what happens next? By the next day, December 8th, officials had text prepared that read, Russian and criminal actors did not impact recent U.S. election results by conducting malicious cyber activities against election infrastructure. President Trump and General Flynn are like singing at this point. Trump can sense a hoax being mounted against him. They're singing, they're whistling Dixie. This is exactly the truth, and it's December 8th. This wording was scheduled to enter the President's Daily Brief. Not a public report, but a confidential briefing that Obama gets. And this, I believe this fails to mention that Donald Trump gets it as well, which is critical. Critical that President Trump is entitled to this report as well. The wording was scheduled to enter the Daily Brief, but then mysteriously and suddenly, like absolute neck-snapping whiplash, the FBI dissented. Comey's FBI withdrew on the afternoon of the 8th. This was all scheduled to go and be briefed to the president first thing, crack of dawn in the morning on December 9th. And in the afternoon, the FBI at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 3:48 p.m., the FBI will be drafting a dissent. What? Please remove our seal and annotations of co-authorship, the FBI says under James Comey. About an hour later, an official from Clapper's office axed the President's Daily Brief for the time being. Based on new guidance, we are going to push back the publication of the President's Daily Brief, the official wrote. It will not run tomorrow and will likely not run until next week. Things started happening, very strange things. At that point, a meeting of Obama's National Security Principles Committee was held. The list of attendees included all-star collection of MSNBC green room visitors like John Kerry, Victoria Nuland, John Brennan, Avril Haines, Ben Rhodes, Andrew McCabe. All names that you know. You can see the documentation here. What happened at that meeting exactly? This is the group that the next day received a group email from Clapper's office headed POTUS Tasking on Russian Election Meddling, asking them to produce an assessment per the president's request. The target release date of January 9th, 2017. Let's read. The intelligence community is prepared to produce an assessment per the president's request that pulls together the information that we have on the tools Moscow used and the actions it took to influence the 2016 elections. An explanation of why Moscow directed these activities and how Moscow's approach has changed over time, going back to 2008 and 2012. In sum, just before Obama was set to receive a briefing that contained no reference to Russian interference, zero. This briefing, of course, put together by thousands of intel community members, pulling strings, pulling all of their sources, all of the available might of the intelligence community of America, foisted upon this single topic, and the conclusion was Russia did nothing in the dark of night. Actually, in the percolating dust light of the afternoon of December 8th. Comey's FBI goes, we're not doing it. for no reason. They have provided zero explanation. Then Clapper's office says, pull it entirely. Then they meet with Obama, and then suddenly there's this massive tune change that's like, no, we must find Russian election hacking. What's very strange about this, and really suspicious about it, is something that's embodied here in Matt's writing. He says that it's not apples to oranges. It's that there were no apples. That's apples to oranges, meaning you're, two things that are both fruit, and you're, maybe it's just two different variations of fruit. No, it's that there's zero apples. There was nothing there. And now the order from Barack Obama is to create apples. Bring forth the orchard, says Barack Obama. The seditiousness and weaponization of our intel agencies and the full might of the American military apparatus against President Trump is unspeakable, but it gets worse. Because this is all relatively known. Tulsi Gabbard just released further information on this. We'll get to that in just a second. Here we go. It's suspicious that a president's daily brief was postponed to make way for an intelligence community assessment ordered at Obama's request. Fishier yet that the evidence that Putin intended to help Trump came from a classified annex containing the Steele dossier material. But the smoking gun is that these eventual conclusions leaked instantly. There you have it. It's called a spoiler alert. So you're ever watching a YouTuber or, reading an article about a movie you want to go see, and somebody gives you up the plot. The main character dies, right? The dinosaur eats him. It's called the spoiler alert. It's when somebody spoils the end conclusion of the movie. You don't get a chance to see it play out. You don't get a chance to see the story develop. You don't get a chance to see the characters develop. The emotional connection is gone because in the end, that Braveheart dies or whatever, right? Whatever big spoiler alert, big heel turn or what have you. Shawshank Redemption, guy escapes. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert here is that the ultimate conclusion that Donald Trump begged for assistance from Vladimir Putin and that Vladimir Putin gave him that assistance and rigged the election in favor of Donald Trump, and that Hillary Clinton had her election stolen from her. That is not a conclusion that the intelligence community had at this point. In fact, they had the opposite conclusion. Yet, that is the exact conclusion that all of American corporate media snapped to in the instant that Barack Obama decided it. And that is something that we have proof of. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. From December 9th, 2016, look at this article from the New York Times. Look at it. Russian hackers acted to aid Trump in election. U.S. says. Look at that. You're on the wrong article. New York Times article, please. Russian hackers aid Trump in election, U.S. says. December 9th, 2016. Here we go. Wait a second. This is the front page of the New York Times. There was no intel community assessment that says this at the time. All of this reporting is based on confidential sources. This reporting does not tie back to any single intel agency. It doesn't tie back to anything that the IC, any conclusion that the IC had come to at this point. In fact, the intelligence community had come to the opposite assessment. Yet the moment that Barack Obama decided that this was the narrative, an article with his face on it and his pointing, almost ordering this article being written, gets published in the New York Times, front page. American intelligence agencies have concluded with high confidence that Russia acted covertly in the latter stages of the president's campaign to harm Hillary Clinton's chances and promote Donald Trump, according to senior administration officials. Look at it. Senior administration officials. The moment that Barack Obama decided that this was going to be the narrative, that this was going to be the hoax, the dates are there right on the article. They launder it to the New York Times. The New York Times, this is, by the way, the same date that they had the meeting in the White House with all of the administration officials and all of the intelligence heads. And Barack Obama steered turned the ship 180 degrees and says, we're not going to go from no Russian interference. We're going to go to 100% Russian interference. No reporter had any time to actually hunt this down. Do you understand what's happening here? This is stenography on behalf of Barack Obama. No reporter had any time to actually do any diligence on this article. The intelligence community would be another month until they created an intelligence assessment that gave Obama what he wanted. In fact, what was happening behind the scenes here, according to Tulsi's new documents, was that multiple top-level CIA officials were being brought in to John Brennan's office and screaming at him that this is a lie. Multiple agents inside of the CIA, top officers, are saying, we have no proof that this is happening. We have zero evidence that Russia manipulated the election. Nothing. That's what Tulsi has proven. So the New York Times is being a stenographer for Barack Obama personally, based on senior administration officials lying about the intelligence community. Look at this. American intelligence agencies have concluded with high confidence that Russia acted covertly in the later stages of the presidential campaign to harm Clinton and promote Trump. When the report said the exact opposite. Not just that. Look at this from the Washington Post. December 9th, 2016, the same day. Secret CIA assessment says Russia was trying to help Trump win the White House. Well, that's interesting because we now know that it was CIA operatives and agents who were the Russia chief intel officers and election security analysts saying the exact opposite of what the Washington Post is saying here. So where are they getting this information? They're being stenographers for Barack Obama. There's only one source of this, and it actually isn't the intel community. Yes, Brennan is guilty. Yes, Clapper's guilty. Yes, Comey is guilty. Yes, they were all doing what Barack Obama told them to do, and they were all willing co-conspirators in this, and they should all go to prison. But it was actually, according to the original documents, original source documents that we can now read, it was the intelligence assessment that there was no Russian collusion. There was no Russian hacking. There was no Russian manipulation at all. It's there in black and white. So where the hell is the Washington Post getting this information? The CIA has concluded a secret assessment. Notice that it's secret and it's unnamed administration officials. Administration officials. Who is that exactly? That Russia intervened to help Donald Trump win the presidency, rather than just to undermine confidence in the U.S. election system, according to officials briefed on the matter. Would you look at that? You know, it's the exact same article. It's the same article, same structure, same paragraphs. All of it is the exact same. It is the assessment of the intelligence community that Russia's goal here was to favor one candidate over the other to help Trump get elected. A senior U.S. official briefed on an intelligence presentation made to U.S. senators said, that's the consensus view. That didn't happen. It's a lie. You can prove that it's a lie because their own documentation, their own classified documentation, prove it's a lie. Yet this is published on the exact same day. This December 9th day is such a critical date. It's published the exact same day that Barack Obama orders the Russian hoax. They launched it into the media. And they didn't stop there. Oh no, ladies and gentlemen. They went hard. check this out. This is we have nothing but love for this audience, but we really appreciate you giving us the support, the viewership, and the ability to do this deep level research. December 9th, CNN. 2016, hard clips to find, actually, because they're 10-year-old clips. And we just didn't have the same technology back then tracking these things, but we were able to hunt them down. December 9th, CNN broadcast. Let's go ahead and listen to what they said. A reminder of what's going on in the background. Now that you know what's going on in the background, let's listen. How the hell did CNN get this information?
It was an unprecedented cyber attack ordered by senior Russian leadership on the U.S. election. Hacking the emails of Democratic officials, then released to the public virtually daily by WikiLeaks. Now President Obama is ordering the intelligence community to conduct a full review of Putin's meddling and all cyber attacks connected to U.S. elections going back to 2008.
This is a major priority for the President of the United States. He directed his intelligence community and national security officials to take this on. He expects that report to be issued to him before he leaves office.
The question is, how will his successor react?
Wouldn't it be nice if we actually did get along with Russia?
Trump repeatedly praised Russia during his campaign and denied that the Kremlin interfered in the election despite the public assessment of the U.S. intelligence community.
I mean, it could be Russia, but it could also be China. It could also be lots of other people. It also could be somebody sitting on their bed that weighs 400 pounds, okay?
And he's continued to express doubts even now that he has access to top U.S. intelligence as the president-elect. Telling Time magazine this week, "I don't believe they interfered." That became a laughing point, not a talking point, a laughing point. Anytime I do something, they say, "Oh, Russia interfered."
We had a meeting.
Trump's skepticism of the intelligence community comes despite his own limited appetite for intelligence briefings. So far, Trump has only had 4 presidential daily briefings, on average 1 per week. But CNN has learned he has requested a more focused briefing on the threat from North Korea. Former CIA Director Leon Panetta telling CBS News that is not nearly often enough.
If you're President of the United States, you better be in touch on a daily basis with your intelligence briefers so that you have an understanding as to what's happening in the world, what are the crises you have to pay attention to, and what steps do you have to take in order to deal with those crises.
So they bring in the former director of the CIA under George W. Bush, the guy who manufactured the WMD hoax, Leon Panetta. They bring in Leon Panetta to connect the thread of President Trump and the President's Daily Brief. When they just pulled the President's Daily Brief that had true information in it, and we're about to insert a fake President's Daily Brief with manufactured Russia hoax information in it. This is how manipulative these bastards are. They bring in the WMD in Iraq guy in order to push the Russia hoax and in order to attack Trump. How do they know how many President's Daily Briefs Trump's getting? Do you understand what that clip unveils for all of us? They were dead set focused on Donald Trump and his reading of the President's Daily Brief. They knew that if they gave Donald Trump the information that there was never any Russian hack of the election, it'd be over. It's game over for them. That was December 9th, the same day of the New York Times article, the same day of the CNN article, the same day of the Washington Post article. That CNN report there showing clearly, how does CNN know how many President Daily Briefs Donald Trump's gotten exactly? They're giving up their sources here. It's the Obama administration and the dirty officials inside of it that were working to manufacture this hoax. And how would they have the narrative already preset? Spoiler alert. The spoiler alert is that they've all come to the conclusion that Russia then meddled to help Trump. The conclusion that Barack Obama ordered the intelligence community come to. We've done more, ladies and gentlemen. This is a wild interview with a Republican member of Congress from December 9th, same day. Listen to the certitude from Yahoo News here. And why is Yahoo News important? Why did we target Yahoo News? We target Yahoo News here because they were the first publication to publish the Steele dossier. So they're ground zero. Yahoo News is ground zero for the Russia collusion hoax. Yahoo News, of course, is absolutely crumbled into total absurdity and neglect, and nobody gives a damn about them anymore. But there was a time when Yahoo News was like really big and people used that search engine. And Yahoo News decided they were going to go full bore on the Russia collusion hoax, publish the Steele dossier, which they had just done, and then run this interview. Listen to this reporter in the way that she talks about Russian collusion. Listen to this.
How would Ronald Reagan feel about Russia directly having a role in our election system and compromising one of our two major parties, our party's emails?
Well, I think anybody who wants to interfere in other people's elections, which happen all over the world, not just Russia, and we interfere in other people's electoral system as well.
So that's fine for you? That's fair game because Donald Trump is not
hold
the
on,
lead.
wait a minute. I thought I was being interviewed here, and you're supposed to let your guests have a point of view. Yeah, the bottom line is that Russia, when Russia does exactly what's going on in other countries, people like yourself are villainizing and saying how horrible it is, but it basically is what's happening all over the world.
You know Vladimir Putin.
It basically happens in various countries.
You know Vladimir Putin personally. I don't. I'm just going by facts.
I'm talking about the facts. The certitude at which they jumped to this conclusion, this pre-baked conclusion, is the smoking gun. One more, ladies and gentlemen. NBC from December 15th. Remember, we're still a month out from the intelligence community assessing their new manipulation that Russia hacked the election to help Trump. A total and completely manufactured manipulation of the evidence at the protest of major members of the intelligence community. We're still a month out, and yet here's what's being run. Almost like an absolute, it reads like a script straight from the Obama White House on NBC. Go.
Senior intelligence sources tell NBC News that what started as a feud with Hillary Clinton quickly became an effort to damage the political process in the United States. And at the center of it all, the Russian president himself. This morning, NBC News has learned from senior intelligence officials that Russian President Vladimir Putin was personally involved in the campaign to undermine the U.S. election. The officials tell us that new information derived from diplomatic sources and spies working for U.S. allies points directly to the Russian president, with one high-level official saying that Putin's role was to direct how the hacked material from Democrats was used. His objectives multifaceted. It began, one official says, as a vendetta against Hillary Clinton after the former Secretary of State criticized Russia's parliamentary elections back in 2011.
We do have serious concerns about the conduct of the election.
But trying to hurt Clinton's presidential chances soon morphed into an effort to show corruption in American politics, attempting to split off key American allies, hoping to prove the U.S. is not a credible global leader. This stunning revelation comes after the CIA's recent assessment that the Russian government wanted to elect Donald Trump, a view that the FBI and other intelligence agencies don't fully endorse. And neither does the president-elect.
There's great confusion. Nobody really knows.
Trump calling the CIA's assessment ridiculous.
They have no idea if it's Russia or China or somebody. It could be somebody sitting in a bed someplace.
This morning, the
moment Obama decided that this was the hoax, every corporate media outlet that was subservient to him began to immediately parrot and become stenographers effectively for the hoax. It happened instantly on the day. And that's the smoking gun. That's how you can tell where this came from and how brain dead, smooth brain SEALs our corporate press actually are. how complicit they are in these lies, the repetition of this instantly and unquestioningly without any journalism at all, because there was no way that there was enough time for them to like pull these strings or find these reports. There was no time. They just wrote what they were given from Obama. It's the smoking gun. And here out this morning, ladies and gentlemen, Tulsi Gabbard with brand new evidence. The declassification of what was found truly by a full-scale investigation by House Intelligence Committee, Oversight Majority Staff Report, fully declassified, showing the truth, reinforced here that it all came from Barack Obama and it was knit together by whole cloth. Let's just pull one little section out of this report. This is a Sean Davis post, please. Now we know why corrupt Obama and Biden administrations worked so hard to hide the comprehensive review of the 2006 intelligence community assessment that became the foundation of the Russian collusion hoax. Here's what they were able to find. Here's what they were able to find that ties Donald Trump to Russian collusion. One scant, unclear, and unverifiable fragment of a sentence from one of the substantiates reports constitutes the only classified information cited to suggest Putin aspired to help Trump win. A CIA official said that fragment had 5 people read it 5 different ways. It gets worse. The intelligence community assessment ignored or selectively quoted reliable intelligence reports that challenged and in some cases undermined the judgment that Putin sought to elect Trump. They shut down dissent. They pushed forward with their false narrative, and they silenced whistleblowers. One scant, unclear, and unverifiable fragment. And what was that fragment? The Steele dossier. That fragment was Russian disinformation paid for by Hillary Clinton. That is why you can call this a coup. That is why you can call it a seditious conspiracy, because the subsource, the direct subsource for all of this information is foreign intelligence gathered and paid for by Donald Trump's political opponent, Hillary Clinton. And that's treason. This is Hillary Clinton working with a foreign government in order to insurrect against the will of the American people. That's treason. And the Steele dossier was all they had in order to tie it. Totally discredited. Not a scintilla of truth in the entire document. Hidden inside of a classified annex for the intelligence community assessment. This is all they had. Oh, man. Let's read. Tulsi Gabbard. New evidence has emerged in the most egregious weaponization and politicization in intelligence in American history. Per President Donald Trump's directive, I've declassified the House Intel Oversight Majority Staff Report that exposed how Obama administration manufactured the January 2017 intelligence community assessment that they knew was false, promoting the lie that Vladimir Putin and the Russian government helped President Trump win the election. In doing so, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people, working with their partners in the media to promote the lie in order to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump, essentially enacting a years-long coup that is still ongoing. Barack Obama proving yesterday that he's still complicit in this coup, and the statute of limitations hasn't even started yet. And he have no presidential immunity, you see, when you're not president anymore. A lie. Putin and the government helped Trump win the 2016 election. Truth. President Obama forced former director CIA, John Brennan, and others fabricated the Russian hoax, suppressed intelligence showing Putin was preparing for a Clinton victory, manufactured findings from shoddy sources, disobeyed intelligence community standards, and knowingly lied to the American people. Lie. The fabricated Steele dossier was not used as a source in the Obama administration's intelligence community assessment. Truth. Not only did the CIA director John Brennan, FBI director Comey, and Clapper and others include the Steele dossier in the intelligence community assessment, they overruled senior intel officials who warned them that it was fabricated and should not be used, as we have discussed. Lie. The Obama administration's January intelligence community assessment was an independent intelligence community product produced with apolitical analysis. Obama ordered the intelligence community to create this assessment. They knew it was false. They promoted a contrived narrative with the intent of undermining the legitimacy and power of the duly elected president of the United States. It's unspeakable, the crimes committed therein. Together, the records released in the Justice Department's report, known as the Clinton Annex, released earlier this week, and the House Intel Oversight report released today, confirm what many Americans have known. The Russian hoax was a lie that knowingly created by the Obama administration undermined the legitimacy and power of the President of the United States. It's true insurrection. True insurrection. You can read here. Here's the declassified bombshell right here in the yellow highlighted section. This is the next tweet. Thank you. Unlike routine intelligence community analysis, this is from the House report, and this is the critical finding. Unlike routine intelligence community analysis, the intelligence community assessment was a high-profile product ordered by the president, directed by senior intelligence community agency heads, and created by just 5 CIA analysts using one principal drafter. Production of the intelligence community assessment was subject to unusual directives from the president and senior political appointees, and particularly the CIA, director of the CIA. The draft was not properly coordinated within the CIA or the intelligence community, ensuring that it would be published without significant changes to its conclusions. This is what has been released by Tulsi, that John Brennan was furious when he found out that his officers at CIA were putting their disputes in writing because they knew that this could be found out. And they did find it out. There are multiple emails that have been released by Tulsi where the chief CIA assessment officers are saying, this isn't true. We have no information that proves that Russia did anything to help Donald Trump. Brennan called them all into the office, sat them all down, and said, the report isn't changing. We're launching the collusion hoax anyway. Shut up or lose your pensions. This is what happened. And it tore at the fabric of our nation. It's declarative proof of a coup against Donald Trump. So it's the most important piece of evidence that has ever been produced by our intel community. And it's the greatest disclosure in the history of the American government, period. I mean, unless they come out with the proof of aliens tomorrow, which I'm not sure I would even believe if they did. This is the single greatest scam perpetrated on the American people. And now we have the official smoking gun. There it is in black and white. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a victimless crime. In fact, the victims of this crime are so many, it's hard to really enumerate all of them. You could go through everybody who'd been in prison during January 6th. You could go through everyone who had their lives and careers destroyed. One of them is George Papadopoulos. You could argue he was the first victim of the Russian collusion hoax. George Papadopoulos joins our show live right now. George, thanks for being on the program. I'm sure you have a number of mixed emotions today, seeing all this, but it must be vindicating for you. The table is yours. What say you about these new disclosures from Tulsi Gabbard?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Benny. It's great to be with you. Look, I feel total and absolute vindication. I felt it for numerous years, and I know obviously President Trump has, the MAGA movement has, people like General Flynn, Roger Stone, others that were really thrust into the crosshairs of this operation to take down a president. So when you use the euphemism stuck between a rock and a hard place, I really was stuck between a rock and a coup attempt against a sitting president. And I was one of the first victims that really kind of understood what was going on. And I couldn't speak for a number of years because of a gag order. Others couldn't speak, so that there was this continuous fake information, disinformation that was being propagated by the mainstream media, by the intel agencies, by the FBI itself, that President Trump, it's a miracle that he was actually able to withstand the type of avalanche that went against him. So when you see this information coming out today, I'm extremely ecstatic. I think DNI Gabbard will go down in history as the most consequential DNI in history, and I'll explain why.
Please.
There have been 4 different investigations into this scandal, Benny. There have been numerous previous DNIs, some conservative, some appointed by President Trump himself. They didn't declassify these files. DNI Gabbard decided to declassify them. She decided to publicize them to the American people. And now for the first time in about 10 years, the American people have a vantage point into the most corrupt scandal in political history.
Yes, this is an act of bravery unlike anything I've ever seen, and I hope that there is some level of accountability here. Tulsi Gabbard has referred these documents to the Department of Justice. I want to perhaps, since so many have maybe forgotten or are rusty on how this affected you personally, can you just touch on that briefly, as you are, I believe, patient zero when it comes to the Russian collusion hoax? And then 2, what do you expect or hope to happen at the Department of Justice with this new disclosure?
Yeah, certainly. Imagine being a young guy in your early 20s, going into your late 20s. You joined 2 presidential campaigns as an advisor. I was on Ben Carson's presidential campaign. Then I joined Trump's presidential campaign. Obviously, the 2 winners. After I, had worked in the think tank and the energy industry in DC for years. So I had a very, cushy position in DC. I decided to leave that to join these campaigns. And little did I know, Benny, that opposition candidates were being targeted for extermination by the Hillary Clinton campaign and the Obama intel agencies. It's unfathomable that as an American citizen who simply wants to give back and to basically help rivals to what you thought was the worst president in American history, Barack Obama, and to prevent a 3rd term, meaning Hillary Clinton, you join campaigns and then you're targeted. So, of course, it was a very dark time for numerous years, lost business associates, friends, even some family. But I stuck through it. I had a very strong wife who stuck by my side. We fought back. The American people had my back. President Trump pardoned me, and we've been on offense ever since. So things are great now, but it took a long time, Betty, and it's taken a long time for other people who are victims of this scandal too. Moving forward, what I think is very important is we have to look at the facts of the situation. We have to look at why Special Counsel John Durham said that the investigation did not start the way that Mueller and Comey said it did. We have to understand whether he was unable to prosecute other members of the FBI or the CIA because of this information being classified. Now that this information is being declassified, what other facts are going to be declassified? Will those facts help prosecute people like Brennan and Comey? Will we go back further in time than before Crossfire Hurricane to see if Obama really had initiated this before that operation? There are many outstanding questions left here, Benny, but I think Gabbard, Patel, and Ratcliffe are going to do the job, get it done, get this out to the public, and we'll see some prosecutions.
It's interesting, your answer there, George, because you seem to narrow it down to Hillary Clinton. And when you really look through in the subsourcing of the classified annexes here, you can see that the Steele dossier was all they had. Now, this was, of course, Russian disinformation. They paid Russian spies. The Hillary Clinton campaign directly paid Russian spies in order to make up fake information about you, about Donald Trump, and then use that information in order to sabotage his campaign in what is truly an insurrection or a seditious conspiracy, whatever you want to label it. Do you believe that this all begins and ends with Hillary Clinton?
I think, Benny, that there was an ongoing investigation or some sort of illicit surveillance of rival presidential campaigns, likely starting in 2015. And I'll explain very simply. Even before it was public that I had joined the Trump campaign in 2016, I had numerous operatives from various countries, including the UK, Italy, others in the European Union, who were basically targeting me. Later on, those people ended up being at the epicenter of this entire scandal. So when people think it's simply Hillary Clinton, yeah, Hillary Clinton had a motivation to dirty up Trump, people pay for Oppo research. They dirty up their political opponents. It happens. But you know what the criminal aspect is here, Benny? It's when people take up political opposition and use it to obtain illegal FISA warrants to defraud FISA courts and to defraud the system to surveil political opponents. And that's really what Comey and Brennan and Obama did. They basically took what Hillary wanted and did her dirty work for her, but they ended up being the ones who did the dirty work for her and the illegal activity. So Hillary's guilty, but the real people who broke the law are the people that were sitting in the halls of power, and that's Brennan, Comey, and Obama.
You know, George, we can rail until our voices crack on this issue, but there are some people who were directly, primarily affected. General Flynn is a friend of our program. He himself had his career destroyed and nearly his entire family imprisoned over this. You yourself also has been primarily affected. And I would like to ask perhaps for you to give maybe a call to Pam Bondi, the Trump Justice Department, as to what you'd like to see next on this, as to what you'd like to see as punishment for this, because, well, quite frankly, you are a primary victim. So many of us feel victimized just based on our votes being stolen and what seems to be a Trump administration being stolen, but you had so much more damage done to you. What would you like to see as recompense here, George?
Benny, when you have nothing to hide, you want accountability, you want transparency, and I believe transparency will bring accountability. Declassify every single file that went into Crossfire Hurricane, any illegal surveillance that occurred before Crossfire Hurricane, the way John Durham said it. I'm not saying it. John Durham's special counsel, John Durham himself, said the investigation didn't start the way that the mainstream media or the Comey FBI said it did. So declassify everything, get that out to the American public, allow grand juries to see that evidence, because if things are classified, Betty, not even a grand jury can see this kind of information. So declassify everything, allow grand juries to see it, and follow the evidence where it might lead. I believe it's going to lead to prosecutions. Prosecute those who are engaged in illegal activity, destroy their reputations, and assure that MAGA is stronger than ever before. Because before this stuff came out, Benny, there were a lot of question marks still about the Russia investigation. People thought Trump was in Putin's pocket, that people like myself were shady, General Flynn was shady, that there was something off about 2016. Now the answers are clear. MAGA was a victim of a crime. I was a victim of a crime. President Trump was a victim of a crime. Get this out to the American public. Let the American people get the truth. And for me, I'm more than happy with that conclusion.
He's a best-selling author. He also hosts his own show. He's a co-host of the Global View show. George, thank you so much for being on the program, for shedding some light onto this. And we'll be sure to clip that as a message to Pam Bondi for what an actual victim, a true victim of this wants. And we hope that you're back on regularly, George, to elucidate for our audience what happened here.
I appreciate it, Benny. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Senator Josh Hawley is waiting in the wings, and we know that he has been, well, like a dog with a bone, a good hunting dog from Missouri with a bone on this issue. Nobody has been calling from the wilderness louder than Josh Hawley on these issues of great deep state subterfuge to our democracy. And so we're proud to have the senator join us live now. Senator, thank you for being here. It's bombshell after bombshell. It's hard to really keep up, but the landscape has really been laid, and it's become quite clear that this directive came directly from Barack Obama in the White House to kneecap his political opponent and to effectively engage in some level of insurrection. Am I allowed to say that? On January 6th of 2017. And that's when this official hoax report was written and delivered to Barack Obama. But it was laundered to the media far before then. And this is, I think, plain as day. I'm not sure if you see it the same way. I'd be very interested to know. The floor is yours, Senator.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's great to be with you. I think we're witnessing something truly extraordinary here, which is the attempt by an outgoing president to directly undermine, if not undo, the results of a Democratic election that his party lost. I mean, the truth is that the bottom line is he didn't like Trump. Trump won in 2016. Obama didn't like him. Brennan didn't like him. Hillary hated him, of course. And so They tried to do everything they could to undermine him, if not destroy him, including using the power of the CIA, the FBI. Let's not forget, months before these intelligence memos and these laundered reports were written and then released, months before that, the FBI had gone to a secret court, the FISA court, and tried to get wiretaps on the Trump campaign based on that fake Steele dossier that Hillary Clinton's campaign wrote. So this was a months-long, really, when you put it all together, it's almost years-long effort by the Obama administration and other Democrat Party officials to directly undermine Donald Trump, to prevent him from getting elected, to interfere in the election when that didn't work, then to try and destroy him, get him impeached. I don't think we've ever seen anything like this in American history. I don't know of another incident like this in American history. You want to talk about something that is a threat to our democracy? These Democrats, used to talk about threat to democracy. Get a mirror, guys. I mean, there's no one who has undermined our Republican form of government more than these people and what they've tried to do.
Senator, you've been so big on accountability in the Senate. There's a lot of Republicans who yap and talk and dangle a shiny fishing lure in front of us, and there's really no bait on it. And so my question to you is this. Obviously, now that this has been laid plain for the American people, the commenters in this audience want to know what happens next. What does accountability truly look like?
Well, first of all, these people ought to be prosecuted for perjury at the very least. I mean, let's not forget, Brennan was trotted up to Congress multiple times, said under oath, oh, yeah, the evidence was very clear. James Comey. These are folks who have testified now. They've taken an oath and they've testified in public that they didn't do anything wrong, that they were merely reporting the evidence, that this data was solid. These are, of course, all the same people who then went on to lie about the Hunter Biden laptop in 2020. Same playbook, same thing. Just outright lie to the American people, get the media to do your bidding. Of course, in 2020, they used censorship as well by all of the tech companies and the media companies. But people need to be accountable here. People need to go to jail for this. I mean, if you can just undermine our elections, if in America now, you can just say, I didn't like the outcome of that election. I think maybe I'm just going to go and try to get it overturned. I think maybe I'm going to go get the FBI and the CIA to go investigate the incoming president, get him wiretapped, get his associates wiretapped, get them impeached multiple times. I mean, what separates us then from some third world country? What becomes of our Constitution? It'll be in shreds. Now, there's got to be real accountability here. Real accountability means there needs to be prosecutions.
From a position here on the Judiciary Committee, you're obviously in a position of great strength here, and I know you've done some major breaking news on Merrick Garland. I want to get to that, but do you expect there to be a full Senate investigation here? Do you expect there to be perhaps you calling back in Comey? We have the tape. It's too long to play the number of lies that Comey, Brennan, and Clapper have told before committees like yours. We have like 9 minutes of lies, Senator. And so will you be calling them back in? Perhaps will you be calling Barack Obama in to testify as to what he knew?
I would love to have Senate hearings. I think the more that we can expose this and bring it out into the light, transparency is fantastic. But Benny, I want to go back to something that you said just a second ago. At the end of all of that process, there needs to be action. Yes. And there's a huge value in getting the lies exposed. There's a huge value in getting these people exposed for what they did so that it never happens again. But there needs to be, on the back end of that, there needs to be some action. And right now, we have the Department of Justice. Right now, we have the U.S. attorneys, because thank goodness Donald Trump was reelected, and he is now putting in rule of law prosecutors back where they belong. We need the rule of law here. I'm sick and tired, and I think every American who believes in the Constitution is sick and tired of these two tiers of justice. That is what we have had for years. We talk about it in regard to the 2020 election, in regard to what they did to Trump at Mar-a-Lago, the raid, all of that stuff, the bogus prosecutions. But you and I both know it goes way back farther than that. We're seeing it now with this evidence. It's way earlier than that. We're talking about years now of shredding our Constitution, two tiers of justice. We've got to put an end to that.
Senator, what's your take on presidential immunity? Because I'm seeing the same people that gave Donald Trump a mugshot and a lot of court hearings and potentially 400 years in jail. I'm seeing those same people say that Obama has presidential immunity and that you can't do this to a former president.
Oh, all of those people, I thought none of those people believed in presidential immunity, Benny. Gosh, I seem to remember every one of these leftist commentators crying on television and haranguing the Supreme Court for saying that presidents have immunity for official acts. So I can't believe they would now turn around and say, oh, well, that is no president has this, but Barack Obama has it. I mean, what's sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander, right? It can't be one rule for Trump and one rule for Obama. So I don't think any of these people are in a position to complain about wanting to get accountability. And listen, the CIA director, James Comey, the CIA director was Brennan, of course, James Comey at the FBI, they don't have presidential immunity. They weren't elected president. You don't have immunity for illegalities. By the way, what is so unbelievable about this evidence is these people knew at the time they were manufacturing it that it was fake. They knew the Steele dossier came from Clinton's campaign. We have it on the record. Obama was briefed on it July 28th of 2016. He was briefed on the fact that Hillary Clinton's campaign was trying to manufacture a connection to Russia. They knew it was fake, and they did it anyway. They allowed the FBI to go to a secret court and get wiretaps on information they knew was fake. That is unbelievable. There's no immunity for that.
No immunity for that. One final question on this topic, since you're on the Homeland Security Committee, it does seem to be a Homeland Security question, perhaps also an intel question, as to whether you should use Russian disinformation, because they used Russian spies to write the Steele dossier. And they wrote fake things about Trump based on Russian spies. And that is taking a foreign enemy's adversarial information to try and rig our election. It seems treasonous to me. It seems like, at the very least, seditious conspiracy. That's what Stephen Miller called it from the White House. Tulsi Gabbard has chosen treason to frame this. How would you frame it, Senator?
Well, I mean, I don't know how you can. I don't know how you could put any lipstick on this pig. I mean, listen, you look at what they did, and it's astounding. I mean, it is an attempt to subvert our constitutional form of government. And I just go back to the fact I've never seen anything like this in American history. I mean, please, if somebody's aware of something like this in American history happening before, I'd love to know what it is, because I've never seen anything like it. And I try to be a student of our history. The fact that you would have a years-long effort to first interfere in a presidential campaign, then to get the results of it overturned, then to interfere again in 2020, big time, and then again in 2024. I mean, these guys, they never stop. And unless we get some accountability now, Benny, unless the deep state is completely cleared out, unless some people are prosecuted, they'll do it again in the future. This is about giving power back to we the people, which is how the Constitution begins. Not we the deep state, not we the bureaucracy, not we the Democrat Party.
Senator, so refreshing to hear you call for actual jail time here. I'm not sure many of your Republican colleagues have the guts to do that. And so that is precisely, of course, what the American people demand. You are the king of whistleblowers in the Senate. I think that would be the right way to frame that. I get it, no kings, but on the show, you are the king of whistleblowers, and you've brought forth some pretty remarkable work, and you seem to be the guy that any whistleblower within the deep state goes to in order to get the truth out. Are you working on anything at the moment that you can reveal to our audience?
Well, we've had so many whistleblowers come to us from the Secret Service, from FBI, Homeland Security investigations over the years, Benny, and we continue to work with whistleblowers. We've had whistleblowers come to us from the big tech companies. And in fact, I was just meeting with one, to be honest with you, earlier today, just before I came on your show. So the short answer is yes, we are working on a lot of things. And I just want to thank all those brave whistleblowers. But since you bring them up, there's one thing I want to underscore when it comes to transparency. We're just shy, or just beyond, I should say, the 1 year anniversary of the assassination attempt, of course, on the president's life in Butler. We need to know everything that the government and Secret Service know about that. You look at what we know now, Benny, what's on the record, it's almost all from whistleblowers. It's almost all from the whistleblowers who came forward to me and to some others and told us things like Secret Service denied drone usage when they had the opportunity to do it. Secret Service didn't actually use real Secret Service agents that day. They were using other agents drawn from other parts of the government. They were understaffed, and on and on and on. That all came from whistleblowers. Yet, we know that the FBI and the Secret Service did their own internal investigations. Where's the evidence and the data on that? We need all of it. We need all of it. So this is another opportunity now that the Department of Justice is back in the hands of law and order people to release all of that stuff. So I would just say again, DOJ, DHS, let's get it all out there so that the American people can see what is going on with their government and what almost happened in the near death of a president, President Trump.
Yeah, I mean, we have footage of Matthew Thomas Crooks on the phone. He's talking with someone right before he shoots Trump. We have that. We have the video of it. We have footage and video of it. Nobody's ever explained who he's talking to. I mean, you can see it right here. It's, I guess photo's worth 1,000 words. What's he doing there exactly? You know, everyone says he has no digital footprint. Well, here he is with a digital footprint. Like, exactly who is instructing him that day? Who is he speaking with? Who is he chatting with? Why don't we have that information, Senator?
Great question. There's no explanation. I mean, there's no explanation why we don't have it. And this is why it's absurd that a year later, all that we know about this is what brave people who are within Secret Service and FBI were willing to come forward and say, actually, you know what? They're not telling you the truth. Let me tell you something. I think I had over 20 whistleblowers in the last year come forward from these agencies and give pieces of information. And I salute every single one of them. But you know what? Those agencies, the leadership of those agencies, need to produce the documents. Why weren't there law enforcement on the roof? I mean, you just pointed out Thomas Crook is on the roof. He is unobstructed. He can do whatever he wants. Why weren't there law enforcement on the roof? I mean, there's 1,000 protocol violations that day. Why? Who's been held accountable? Nobody. Who's been fired? Nobody. I mean, come on. This is what I'm talking about with accountability. Whether we're talking about the Russiagate hoax, whether we're talking about the Hunter Biden laptop, or whether we're talking about the attempts on the life of Donald Trump, it is time for accountability.
Yeah, I just as you bring this up, I have to ask about one of your colleagues, and really upstanding dude, who's named Adam Schiff. And we know he's never lied to the public, and we know he has an impeccable record. Turns out that he's been claiming a primary residence in Maryland, and that he has also claimed a primary residence in California, has been getting a lot of government goodies for that, and that's illegal. The documentation is there, and the referrals to the DOJ are there. What do you think should happen to Adam Schiff?
I think that members of Congress ought to be held to the same standard as everybody else, Benny. I think that the rule of law, this is what I'm talking about with 2 tiers of justice. You saw the same thing recently when you had that member of Congress, Democrat, who rushed the ICE facility and assaulted ICE officers and then said, oh, but it's different. I'm a member of Congress. No, it's not different. If you assault cops, if you break the law, you should be prosecuted. It's not one rule for everybody else and then a different rule for liberals in Congress. So my view is the same rule for everybody. And while we're on this subject of congressional ethics, I just can't help throwing in, Benny, because I'm about to force a vote on it in the United States Congress. We need to ban stock trading by members of Congress too. They act like it's legal, like they're following the rules, but they're not. People have gotten so rich, Nancy Pelosi, so rich on stock trading for years. We need to ban that for all members of Congress so that they are following the same rules as everybody else.
Just a remarkable populist position. That and term limits, the American people, that term limits and voter ID are like 90-10 issues for the American people. And do you think Congress will ever get around to it? I mean, do you think this will ever actually happen in our lifetime, Senator?
Oh, Congress hates all 3 of those things precisely because they are what the American people want. Listen, I'll tell you this, on the stock trading, it is impossible to defend it. I actually got through a Senate committee last year. I got them for the first time ever to approve a stock trading ban. And the way we did it is we just forced a vote, Benny, because when it comes time to vote, it's go ahead, look at the camera, look at your constituents and explain to them why you think you should be able to profit off of information that members of the public don't have. I mean, that's what I said to my colleagues. Go ahead, explain. I'll sit right here and listen. I can't wait to hear it. They can't explain it. And they can't explain why they want to be here forever and not have term limits. And they can't explain why we shouldn't have to show an ID in order to vote when you have to show an ID in order to get into a sports game in America. So listen, I'm with you on all of those things. And what we have to do is constantly force these people to take positions. I'm going to force a vote on a stock trade ban coming up in the next week. You watch, we're going to do it again. And we're going to put people on the record to see where they are.
Ooh, Halloween comes early for Nancy Pelosi, beating all of the hedge funds in America. It's remarkable. As an 85-year-old woman, this is really something else. Very quickly, very quickly, I know your father, and I know this is a passion project for you. I know that you are also a committed Christian. The spying and the labeling of parents as domestic terrorists, you have something up this morning on it. Apparently, there's breaking news. I think it's not getting the attention that it deserves. I want to just give you the floor, Senator, to talk about this from Merrick Garland and Barack Obama directing the spying on Christian parents.
Well, here's the thing that's so extraordinary is for years, Merrick Garland would come before the Judiciary Committee and other members of Congress, other committees of Congress and say, oh, you know, we were just acting on intelligence. We came to this passively. That's not true at all. In fact, the White House actively solicited that letter, that infamous letter from the School Board Association to give them the hook to go after parents. They actively investigated these parents. They treated them as domestic terrorists. They used the anti-terrorism division, both of the FBI and of the Justice Department, against these parents. This is outrageous stuff. And at the same time they were doing that, Benny, they were trying to recruit informants into Christian churches across America. I mean, again, this is the kind of thing, if we don't stop this now, if people aren't fired for this now, if people aren't prosecuted when they've broken the law for this now, it's going to go on in the future. It's going to become the norm. We cannot allow that to happen. We have to protect our rights to religious liberty, our rights to free speech, or we're not going to have a free government anymore. That's just the bottom line.
It's so refreshing to hear it, Senator. it's like, man, can we just, I'm not into human cloning, but if we just clone Josh Hawley and get 100 senators like this, I think we'd be able to save the country. But ladies and gentlemen, we got one, and you should follow that one, Josh Hawley, right here. He's got millions of subscribers, 2.3 million. Ladies and gentlemen, Josh Hawley is cooking from the Show Me State, and Josh Hawley wants to show you some, hopefully some deep state arrests. Follow along. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, what a spectacular lineup of guests. Just a massive shout out to our production crew. Just an incredible show. Just such an honor to actually work here. Truly, and it's an honor to serve you every single day. We have the RNC chairman coming on the program in just one moment. His name is Michael Whatley. He is the chief reason why the Democrats were not able to rig the election against President Trump. I mean that, and President Trump has said that. And it was a very important interview, and he has some major news to announce about RNC fundraising. It's going to be very interesting, and what happens in the midterms. Ladies and gentlemen, for breaking news on our program or any other, jump onto your Patriot Mobile device. Patriot Mobile is the backbone of our show. We say it regularly. The reason why is because their service is impeccable, and it is something that helps us everywhere that we go. We're going to be on the road a little bit in the coming days and weeks. It's going to be very interesting. Some of the things that we're going to go to Jasmine Crockett's district. We may go to Epstein Island. Actually, we got some things cooking right now. We're going to go find out more information on all of this. People, yeah, that's right. Did everyone just go there for the beaches? Yeah, I really wonder. We're going to go show so much about what actually happened, and we're going to take Patriot Mobile with us. Patriot Mobile keeps us connected everywhere that we are. It is a Christian conservative wireless provider. They have exceptional coverage everywhere that you go. And ladies and gentlemen, we've been using them for years. A partner and ally of this program. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny. Call 972-PATRIOT right now and use the promo code Benny for a free month of service when you sign up. Switch to Patriot Mobile and defend freedom with every single call or text that you make. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny or call 972-PATRIOT. All right, ladies and gentlemen. That's a matter of fact. We're working on getting to Epstein Island. I'll just tell you that right now. Okay. What's happening right now is that island's been bought and it's being converted into a resort. I kid you not. By a private investment group. I'm not going to, say that they're doing, whatever, right? I guess that's their right. It's going to be a little creepy. You can go book a night on Epstein Island. That's kind of weird. But what is absolutely guaranteed is that there's going to be a lot of people who will be in the periphery on those islands who understood or were primary witnesses to this operation. And we're going to go do some reporting. And it's going to be very interesting. Dog's got a bone, right? Here you go. Here's Killer Klein up with the photo. You can follow Killer Klein. You can just boat right there. You look, there's the temple. What do you know? There's the temple still standing. So what is it exactly? And more importantly, what do the people around there know? Our pursuit for truth knows absolutely no limits. We're very excited about the way that this is now being addressed, with Ghislaine Maxwell being brought in for questioning, them opening up investigative lines into the first-hand witnesses, and hopefully bulldozing everything that came before and then starting all over again. That's what I hope happens here. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do our part, and we're just so thankful for you and your support in all of this, so that we can get out of the studio and do true and proper journalism and report to you the news, which is really exciting here from the RNC. The RNC ends first half of 2025 with $65 million cash advantage over the DNC. It's wider now than at any time in any midterm cycle. And it's due to one man. His name is Chairman Michael Whatley, and he joins the show live now. Chairman Whatley, congratulations. You must be beaming. You are in a stronger position against the DNC than at any time, I think, in my lifetime for an RNC chairman. So, again, congratulations. How did you do it, Mr. Chairman?
Well, look, I think we have a focus right now in terms of our donor base and supporters all across the country that are watching the president deliver every single day. They're watching Congress pass the big, beautiful bill. And they're seeing wins, right? The economy is starting to tick up. We're seeing unemployment down. We're seeing wages are up. Every indicator that we need to see in terms of the economy is getting where it needs to go. The border has been 100% secured. And we are now, once again, the strongest, nation on the face of the earth. So the president is keeping his promises, which is a very positive thing. And at the RNC, our focus is making sure that we're in a position to win the midterms. And in order to do that, number one, you got to have a president who's delivering, and we do. And number two, you got to make sure that we have the resources that are going to be in place. So very excited that we have Vice President Vance as our finance chair, which has been tremendously helpful in terms of the events and conversations that we've been having around the country. But we're going to keep our eye on the ball. And, we're very excited about having a cash on hand advantage over the Democrats. But we know at the end of the day, they're going to have a ton of money. They just do. Teachers unions will always bring a ton of money. New York and California will always bring a ton of money. So we're going to make sure that we're putting together what we can in terms of our investments in the election cycle. But whether we win or lose is really going to rely on the environment that we're running in. And that's being set by President Trump every single day right now.
And that's obviously the numbers don't lie. The scoreboard doesn't lie. We have actually the cash advantage right here, and we have the receipts, and it's just very impressive. And a huge congratulations to you, who's been operating very efficiently, but very much under the radar, just like doing the actual hard work. This is something that we posted that went thermonuclear viral, and I just got to get your take on it, Mr. Chairman, which is that the defunding of USAID directly leads to the Democrat coffers being completely empty and Democrats now begging for potential lines of loans from major banks. And I'm wondering, do you see any connection there with the potential money laundering through Act Blue, which is now under criminal investigation?
I will just say I am so happy that we do have investigations underway on Act Blue right now. The concerns that we have seen raised about voters or donors, through Act Blue who had no idea that they had been making donations through Act Blue. We need to take that very seriously. We've got 9 different state attorneys general that are looking into it, as well as now the Department of Justice is opened up a probe onto Act Blue. So that does really truly matter. But what I look at when I see the lay of the land politically and where it lands with donations is the Democrats right now are marching off a left-facing cliff. They truly are right now the most radical party that we've ever seen, major party, anytime in the United States of America. They have doubled down on the same failed policies that they had from the 2024 election cycle. They are open borders. They are inflationary spending. They're anti-Semitic. They are a weak America party right now. And I'm not surprised that their donors are starting to walk away. When you have leaders like Whoopi Goldberg and Jasmine Crockett and AOC and Zoran Mamdani and Bernie Sanders, that is not going to inspire a lot of confidence that they can win elections, which is obviously going to have a dramatic impact on the donations that they take in.
These are gifts. And here's the article, by the way. Inside of chaos, swirling through the DNC, desperate for cash. Apparently, they're begging for money. They're begging for loans. And now, right after the Act Blue investigation began, this is anecdotal, Mr. Chairman, but I just got to ask, since you are a bit of a master at this. There's a guy on my street with Parkinson's, and he's just an old timer, and he's lived as a Republican his entire life. And he asked me to go check his name in this database because he was reading about this Act Blue stuff. And it turns out that he's been donating a bunch to Democrats, just little amounts in his name and his address in the state of Kansas. And he's never even been to Kansas. This is identity theft. This is fraud. This is like open fraud that is egregious. perhaps you have more insight into how this happens since you do it on a regular basis. And just from my perspective, this seems like one of the biggest crimes in American political history.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I'm so happy that we do have these different state attorneys general that are taking a look into this. You know, the first time that we really kind of saw documentation on this was in Virginia, where you had, you know, a lady, you know, under similar circumstances who had been making thousands of donations. And when a reporter went up and asked, you know, hey, have you been making these donations? Said, I don't know what you're talking about. And you know, I'm very glad that the attorney general there, Jason Miyares, was very willing to take this seriously and take a good look at it. You know, we need to get to the bottom of this. And I'm very glad that the president has ordered the Department of Justice to open up that investigation and see kind of where this thing goes. And in the meantime, we're going to continue to focus on making sure that we're hitting our marks on the Republican side of the aisle so that we're ready. You know, right now, we need to be building out our infrastructure on election integrity. We need to be filing the lawsuits that we're filing to make sure that we have the right rules of the road in place before voting starts. We need to make sure that we're in a position to recruit and train the thousands of volunteers that we're going to be needing to make phone calls, to knock on doors, and to serve as poll workers and observers when we go into those 26 midterm elections.
Mr. Chairman, there's something that I wanted to ask you, and I think I'll just tie the past to the present and then to the future here with your gold standard in election integrity. Now, it started off in North Carolina, where you're from, and then you brought it nationally as the RNC chairman, and you promised that we would have a fair election. And of course, I think that there's voter fraud in every election, but there was not voter fraud at scale in this election, and it was wonderful to see. Could you please talk about your strategy in order to secure the election in 2016? I'm sorry, in 2024, and then how are you going to advance that in 2026?
Yeah, it's a three-step program, right? You know, number one, we've got to have the right rules of the road in place before voting starts. You know, only American citizens can vote. That's a federal law. The states need to enforce it. We need to make sure we have voter ID in place. We need to make sure that states are cleaning up the voter rolls. You know, that's another federal requirement that the states have to implement. And for the states that have mail-in balloting, we want basic protections in place, right? So, you know, a witness requirement, a signature requirement, mailboxes, not drop boxes. And we want all those ballots in before Election Day. So those are the things that we're building out right now in every state. And we focused real hard last year on the battleground states, making sure that we were getting those rules of the road in place and working with governors, working with, you know, boards of elections, working with secretaries of states, and going to court. You know, we filed 150 plus lawsuits last year just on election integrity alone. So we're going to get those rules of the road in place nationwide. Number two, you have to be in the room, right? We need Republican poll workers, poll judges, observers, and lawyers. Anytime a vote is cast or counted, I want them in the room. And so we went out, Laura Trump, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Matt Whitaker, and I on the National Election Integrity Tour last year recruited 230,000 volunteers, 6,500 attorneys. And in every battleground state, we were in the room. And the third part, which is very important, is you got to talk about it. You have to let everybody know, because if we have 2%, 3%, 5% of Republicans who say, you know what, my vote's not going to count, it's going to get canceled by cheating, I'm not going to mess with it, and they stay home, that guarantees that we lose. So we need every Republican to have faith that the system is being worked and that we are going to be there to protect that vote. The flip side is we wanted to serve notice to everybody on the other side that if you cheat or you help somebody else cheat, we will find you and we will prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. So we felt very good about having this program in place and casting it out and making sure that everybody knew that we were in place. And God knows there's nobody better than Laura Trump, who, you know, and myself would go out there every day and put these messages out on the street to serve notice. And so we felt that we had a fundamentally better environment from an election integrity perspective last cycle. That's exactly what we need to do this year. And I really want to expand it from just those battleground states where we are investing time, energy, and resources nationwide. So I've gone to every state party across the country and said, you have to put this program in place. We will help you. We will provide resources. We'll provide training. But, you know, I want this in place in Hawaii. I want it in place in Maine. I want it in Florida. I want it in every state in between, just so that we can make sure that in, you know, a state legislative race that's going to be decided by a couple dozen votes, or even a congressional race that's going to be decided by a few hundred votes. Those races are going to matter, and we need to make sure we have this type of a program in place everywhere across the country.
Mr. Chairman, Scott Presler, you made a lot of news by changing course and working with Scott Presler. And one of his key issues has been that swing state of Pennsylvania, which was, of course, the keystone to President Trump's victory. And that state has some remarkable news out in voter registration. You have been doing incredible work there. And I know that the RNC has a friendly partnership with Scott Presler. But I think is it the closest it's ever been? Ever to having party parity now? A deficit of millions from Democrat to Republican has been now totally zeroed out. Can you give us an update on Pennsylvania and Republican
look,
voter
I think that's absolutely critical, and we're seeing it not just in Pennsylvania, but let's talk about Pennsylvania for a second, because you're right that we've gone from hundreds of thousands to the deficit to over to where we are today with getting close to parity. And it really, truly matters, right? And so we're seeing Democrats are leaving the Democratic Party by the tens of thousands just because the Democratic Party, frankly, has left them. And so we're seeing a huge uptick in terms of independent votes, but we're also seeing an uptick in terms of Republican votes. And that is the direct result of a lot of effort that's being put onto the ground. Folks like the Sentinel Action Fund, folks like Scott Presler, the Pennsylvania GOP, all working in concert all day, every day to try and make sure that we're doing it. But it's not just Pennsylvania. In North Carolina, when I took over as the state party chair, it was a 250,000 vote deficit. Today, it's basically tied. We're seeing shifts in Michigan. We're seeing shifts in Wisconsin, all across the country, because people are just completely disillusioned by the Democratic Party's relentless march to the left. The fact that they're focusing harder on protecting violent, criminal, illegal aliens and putting, boys in girls' sports and men and women's locker rooms than they are on their own constituent interests is a great reason to see that people are leaving that Democratic Party. But we need to hit our marks. As a Republican Party, we need to make sure that we're putting a solution on the table that people want to sign up for, that they want to be there. That's President Trump and the America First agenda. It's him being a common sense candidate and us being a common sense party, because that way people say, you know what, I'm not just going to be an independent. I'm going to go and actually register as a Republican.
Border state of New Jersey defied you and led to a lawsuit. I know there's some people speculating that New Jersey could be flipped red potentially. But here's the information about a lawsuit from the RNC against New Jersey. And I wanted to talk about this because there's a lot of speculation that potentially New Jersey could be a red state. Do you see that, Mr. Chairman?
Look, I think we've got a great opportunity there. The people of New Jersey are ready for change, and Jack Ciattarelli is an absolutely great change agent. He lost by 3.5 points 4 years ago. President Trump brought it into low single digits in the election last cycle. And the people of New Jersey are very unhappy. They've got the highest taxes in the country. They're ranked 49th out of 50 in competitiveness right now. Their schools are failing. Their roads are crumbling. And they really, truly are not getting the bang for their buck that they need to as taxpayers in New Jersey. And they're ready for a change, And so, Jack, and I spent some time up in New Jersey with him just last week. He is ready to be that change agent. He's ready to bring some sanity to Trenton and make sure that they get that state turned around. When you talk about the lawsuit, we went to New Jersey and we said very simply, it is a federal law that you clean up your voter rolls every year. When is the last time you did it? And what are you doing this year to clean up your voter rolls? And we heard nothing. We sent them a follow-up letter, nothing. We sent them a third letter, nothing. We sent them a fourth letter, nothing. So that's why we've gone ahead and done two things. We filed a lawsuit basically saying they need to comply and they need to let us know what they're doing. But most importantly, they need to clean up their voter rolls. The second thing we did is we sent a letter to the Department of Justice and said, hey, they're violating federal law. You need to go ahead and open up an investigation and make sure that you bring the power of the federal government into New Jersey and make sure that they comply with that federal law and clean up the voter rolls.
Yes. So that we don't see something like this. I mean, we have it. We have it. This was from 2024. We've seen these graphs before. Mr. Chairman, you were the only state in 2020 that prevented a graph like this in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Now here it is all over again. 2024, dark of night, the black of night. Suddenly there is a parabolic jump up in the votes, and just they are able to scrape through a Democrat senator out of that state, a critical Democrat senator, by the way. That Democrat Senate seat is something that prevents so much of the Trump administration from getting what they need with 51 votes in the Senate. So it's absolutely critical that you do this. Do you see graphs like this, Mr. Chairman, and just like scratch your head like the rest of us?
We do, angry? And it is really something, for us that you've got to be in the room. I think, when we talk about, putting the lawyers and the observers in the room anytime a vote is counted, this is what you're trying to prevent, and we just want to make sure that those late night dumps, that we are covering it. And when we do, we tend to see, better results, and I'll give you one example of this in Milwaukee. Last year, votes are being counted. And one of our observers who was in the room noticed that the security protocols on one of the machines were not in place. So he cried foul. We brought in the lawyers. They shut everything down. They took all those ballots out of the machine. They reset the protocols. And then they went ahead and ran, those ballots back through the machine. That's the type of things that we want to make sure that we're in the room catching that, because I think if you catch the honest mistakes, you can help prevent the dishonest mistakes.
That's right. Just very quickly looking into the future, there are, I believe it's 26 Democrat seats that represent districts that Trump won. It's a pretty remarkable map for 2016. How are you going to go get those seats, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, 13 seats that President Trump carried. Democrats have the seat. There are 3 that Kamala Harris won where Republicans are holding those seats. That 16 really is the center of the bullseye for us. And, the passage of the big, beautiful bill is a great thing for us because when you look at extending the Trump tax cuts, 75% approval. When you look at no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, 75% approval. When you look at, the national security provisions in that bill, 70% approval. Unleashing American energy, 65% approval. So we now have every one of those Democrats voting against all of these popular provisions. We're going to go have a conversation with the voters and say, hey, this is the agenda you voted for. This is this guy going to Washington and voting against it. You need to vote him out. So we're going to be very aggressive in the election cycle of going after those folks for the votes that they're taking, because every single one of them, they're following Hakeem Jeffries. They're following Chuck Schumer. They're following, frankly, Zoran Mamdani and Whoopi Goldberg, who are the new leaders of the Democratic Party. But they're not voting in their constituents' interests. And we're going to have that conversation from now through next November.
Can you admit to us here that Zoran Mamdani is an op and that you're like, that secretly he's an op by the by some splinter cell of the Republican Party?
President Trump may be that smart. I wish I was.
I know.
It is unbelievable. This guy is a gift that keeps on giving. And the Democrats really want to try and serve him up on a platter for us because they keep meeting with him and they keep kissing the ring and they keep saying, oh, my God, look at this guy. He's exactly what we need as the Democratic Party. And he goes right in there with Jasmine Crockett and AOC and Bernie Sanders. They're trying to resurrect, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Look, every single leader the Democratic Party has right now is basically saying we are going to go 100% progressive, 100% woke, 100% radical. We're going to be open borders, inflationary spending, and a weak America. That's not what the American people want, particularly in these battleground districts that we were just talking about.
Mr. Chairman, he says that he wants to tax white people more. He says it on his website, and he doesn't even apologize for it. They didn't scrub it. He doubled down. He says, I want to tax white New Yorkers more, and that's my platform. And, one, that's patently illegal. We asked Harmeet Dillon about it, but he's pushing forward on that. It's wild, man. It's a gift, I think, to the Republican Party.
I do think it's a gift. I think it's one that we have to go ahead and take advantage of, and we need to have those conversations. Donald Trump did such an amazing thing in the last election cycle by just simply declaring himself the common sense candidate and talking to the voters about the issues that they cared about and putting solutions on the table. And every Republican candidate from one end of this country to the other needs to do the same thing in the 26 campaign, because the Democrats are not listening to the voters right now. We have an opportunity, and midterms are always very, very tough for the party that has the White House. But we have an opportunity here because the Democrats are so far off the page that if we listen to our voters and we listen to the constituents and we put solutions on the table, we're going to be in a chance to defy history and really, be able to expand our majorities in the House and the Senate.
I thank you for your generous time. I pray you'll allow me, just since we're talking about it, one more question about AOC. She is leading the pack for the 2028 Democratic nomination for president. What say you to AOC and potentially Vice President Zoran Mandami?
You know, if I could write a check to those candidates, I would do it, but I just can't. You know, but it is absolutely remarkable to see that this is where the Democratic Party wants to go. And you know, it may work in New York, it may work in San Francisco, it may work in Chicago. But when you talk about the battleground states like Arizona, Nevada, North Carolina, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, it's not. I mean, that is not where those voters want to be. You know, they want a thriving economy. They want to shut down the southern border the way that President Trump has. They want America to be the strongest country on the face of the earth. And what AOC is going to bring to the table on the Democratic side of the aisle is going to ensure that they have a permanent minority. And you know, God bless her for leading the charge.
That's the quote from the stream. God bless AOC. If I could write her a check, I would, says the RNC chairman. You should follow the RNC chairman, by the way. Here's Michael Watley's X account. He's so close to 100,000 subscribers, and I cannot encourage you enough. Get in there and follow the chairman. He is doing remarkable things for the party. He's a humble man, and he's somebody who operates quietly and so effectively, as most of the quiet operators do. Here's the RNC's page as well. It has 3.4 million subscribers. You should follow that too. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Godspeed.
It's great to be on with you, sir. Have a great day.
All right. Boy, oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, what a show. An exciting time. And we have a press conference coming up, which is going to be really exciting as well. Time to lock in with our... Hear that? Completely empty. But you know what's also empty is the pot of coffee at my house. My Blackout Coffee. It's the coffee that charges our program, gets us that energy that we need to keep rocking and rolling and do the research and get to Epstein Island. And let me know in the chat. What do you guys want? You want us to go to Epstein Island? Let me know in the chat. You want us to go? I have to drink a pot of Blackout Coffee before we fly over there. But you know what I think is I'm thinking, like, who are the people who are going to like talk to me about what they observed there? Who are the people that I could like stand on the street and do interviews and like talk with people about? There's been people who break onto the island. Listen, that island's been shut down for almost a decade now. Okay, so what are we going to find? You know, we've shown you the James O'Keefe stuff. What are we going to find? I think it'd be neat to talk to. There's got to be people who like worked at the airport, who drove the cars, who handled the bags, who saw stuff, who witnessed things. I think that'd be ripe for an interesting investigation. I've never seen anybody do that. You know, the people who work on those islands in the tourist industry, they got to know they know so much, right? Those people, they know and they talk. I'm thinking about like, how do we do this exactly? You could go to Manhattan. They're not, you know, I've been asking to get into the prison. They're not going to let me into the prison. Okay. They're not going to let me into the jail. I could stand out front of his house. We could ask questions, but I don't know about that. Like, really? Do you think these uppity, like, billionaires are going to, like, spill their guts to me on the sidewalk? I don't know. I doubt it. Maybe it'd be interesting. But what about the island? That'd be fascinating, right? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, the energy that we get comes from Blackout Coffee. Blackout Coffee is the source of that sweet caffeine that pumps through our veins every single morning. Killer Klein sitting here. What is Killer Klein laughing about? It's the same thing. Well, yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're just talking about it. We're just having an open conversation, okay? We're having an open conversation about it. And, yeah, whatever our crazy-ass ideas, you know, we just got back from AOC's district. That went thermonuclear viral. We got 20 million views on that one. You know, let's go do more of this stuff. This is the point of the show. Let's go bring information to people and cover stories that nobody else will go get. So maybe this is the way that we do it. Blackout Coffee carries us through and gives us the energy to deliver for you. That is our number one obligation on earth. If you believe in hard work, American values, and good journalism, well, you should join us in drinking Blackout Coffee. blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Use the code Benny for 20% off your first order. Support the American dream. Drink Blackout Coffee. blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Okay. Yeah, sorry. I'm not trying to turn not trying to turn it into like, but I'm just talking with the audience. What does the chat say? Can you guys chat it up? Listen, we got a press conference that's coming up here in just a minute. We're going to push through this stream to the next stream. There's something really cool that allows for us to do that, a module that allows for us to just open up the new stream. And so that's what we're going to do. So just please stay tuned. That press conference is supposed to start at when? 1 o'clock? At 1 p.m. Okay. So that's what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen. But until we do it, let us know. Would you like for us to go to Jasmine Crockett's district? That's something that we're working on. Would you like for us to go expose who Jasmine Crockett actually is? I think that'd be fun. This is a show that is driven by you and your questions and your energy. And so that's where we got the Mike Johnson statement. That's now become quite controversial. It's where we've gotten a lot of our reporting ideas. What do you guys think? Should we go to Epstein Island? It's private, right? Yeah, I mean, should we go there? I've just been workshopping. Like, how do we get at this story in a way that no one else has? Oh yeah, you really want Crockett, do you? Do we really? The comments are right here, and we love you, but they're just coming too fast for me to read them all. But yes, go to Crockett's district. Okay. Should we do that? You're our masters. You order us around. We'll do this. Everyone was sitting there telling us to expose AOC. We went and exposed AOC, and we got 20 million views on it. Changed the national narrative. Everybody, this audience was telling us, hey, yo, and well, we just can't thank you enough. Just by watching the stream, you support us. Just by, we don't even have to ask for anything. Everybody else out asking for stuff. We don't have to ask for anything. Just good ideas. That's a very bad idea, Jerry. No, I can't even repeat that. But yeah, please. Yes, Crockett. Okay. Would you like for us to go to Jasmine Crockett? We can do the same thing with Jasmine Crockett. We can do the same thing with Minneapolis. We'll go expose Ilhan Omar's district. How about that? Go expose, go to Minnesota and see Waltz perform. Ooh, what's he performing? I don't know. Yeah, probably in the Minneapolis airport bathrooms, if you know what I mean. Please go expose Jasmine Crockett. Well, absolutely. Roth and Donnie Smith. Ron the Don Smith. 683. Absolutely. Spadex says Epstein Island. Sure. Listen, I don't know if I'll be able to break, it's private property. They'll probably chase me off if we went to Epstein Island, but we could go to Epstein Island doesn't have an airport. Everybody who visited Epstein Island had to fly in to the auxiliary islands, and we could go to the main one and we could ask people questions. I think we could find out a lot, perhaps. I think we could find out a lot by going to Dallas and by asking about Crockett. Yes, Crockett. This is Mary Beth Allen commenting here. Love you guys. You're awesome. Love you back. Crockett. Her first, then Omar. Is that what we think, chat? We'll do it, chat. We're crazy. We know, we'll do it. We'll go this afternoon. We will. We've done it before. Killer Klein. We've had days where there's a day where Joe Biden called us all garbage. And that morning, I was texting with Vivek, and I was like, yo, you're doing a Trump speech. You're doing Trump speeches around the country. Where are you? I'll rent us a garbage truck. And we did that morning. Now, President Trump did the same thing. He had the same idea. I did not know what was happening. So we all did it together. It was fun. Vivek doing it. That was great. Trump doing it, obviously, very important. But I didn't know Trump was going to do that. So why not? The best that I had, I couldn't call Trump and tell him this idea, right? We're very open with you about what we can and cannot do. But Vivek, we did that and got the truck. And we did that because everyone wanted to see something happen. Go expose Mondami. Well, that's interesting. I wonder how we would do that exactly. It'd be interesting. Maybe tell his story, right? Same way we told AOC's story. I love this. We need to workshop. With the chat. Investigate Lahaina. You mean in Hawaii? Yeah, where the lasers came down and burned all the buildings that didn't have blue roofs on them. Just everything but a blue roof. The blue cars too were just fine, but just all that poor working class neighborhood. Yes, I would love that. Lahaina. Thank you for calling that out. So many people have forgotten about that. Expose Jasmine Crockett. This is TLJ 621 says, please expose Jasmine Crockett. She's not a true Texan. She's from St. Louis, Missouri. She's an embarrassment to Texas from a Texan. Well, then, I think that's about as good as we can possibly get. A new segment, this is from Sovereign Knight 74. New segment should be called Benny Boots on the Ground. That's right. We have that. I mean, I love Benny Boots on the Ground. It's called Benny on the Block. But yes, we need to do more. Do both of them, Crockett and Omar. Yeah, wouldn't that be great? We'll go squad member by squad member and exposing them. Man, we did a number on AOC. Man, we shut her yapper. Only time that AOC has been attacked where she had nothing to say because we shut her trap. We shut her flapping gums. Expose Mondami, please. Now that's something that we're gonna have. I'll put my production team on it. They are savages. They're angry, autistic savages, and they will find the right angle for Mondami. Never forget Lahaina. That's very interesting that a lot of people wanted to talk about Lahaina. Okay, well, I'll be happy to do that. It's a very interesting story. Little working class town, completely torched. Nobody knows why. The government told everyone to stay put so that they all die. That's a matter of fact. We have that in open source documents. That's a matter of fact. The government said, stay put so you all die. This poor little working class family. And then now it's going to be bulldozed and turned into an amusement park for Oprah, right? You know that. It's happening. It's happening right now. Be very interesting. Maybe go talk with them. No vacation in Virgin Islands. Go see Crockett. Interesting. Listen, I'm a father of 4. I don't like being away from my family. These trips, we have to be selective in what we go do. We want to make it count. You know what I mean? We want to make it count. We want it to be worth something. So if you is the mode of the chat, the last thing I'll say on this is the attitude of the chat that we should go after Crockett instead of going to the Virgin Islands and talking to people about Epstein. Is it? Okay. Well, that makes a ton of sense. Listen, we have an invitation to speak at something called the Texas Youth Summit. I'm looking through my text right now to go find that. It's the Texas Youth Summit. It's actually in Dallas. That'd be a good time to do it. It's about a month from now. So maybe we absolutely do that. Or maybe we go this afternoon. I'm not sure. Come see us in Dallas and also do a meetup. Also come visit the actual Medal of Honor Museum, the official Medal of Honor city in North Texas. That's cool. Is the city's name Medal of Honor City? That's cool. I didn't know that. Thank you, Stephanie Stoffel 9558. Thank you. That's a great idea. Gainesville, Texas is the Medal of Honor city. Okay. We will go. Okay, so just count on it. We'll go. Maybe Ilhan Omar. Do we have one more Ilhan Omar? Because I'd love to do that as well. I mean, that Minneapolis is just in tatters. Maybe we just hit the road for a little bit. I know we got some members of the team that are itching for it, that are itching to get out there and break some stuff. Okay. Thank you, chat, for this, for impressing upon us what we should do next. You will never find a show in the entire wide world of the internet that is more directed by you. You won't find a program that listens more to their audience, that is more locked in and just ravenous about delivering for the audience. And so, yeah, maybe we got to book that tech. Maybe we book that tech. The speech I'm supposed to give is at the end of September. Maybe that's too late. Maybe we should start. Maybe we should just go now. Interesting. Okay, cool. Thank you all. When you see the Jasmine Crockett piece, I'll just do a massive shout out to the chat. At the very beginning, you'll see it. Shout out to the chat. You wanted us to do this. Here we go. And it looks like Ilhan Omar next. Okay, giving us our marching orders. And then Mondami, expose Mondami. We'll go expose Mondami in New York City. That'll be very interesting. I bet Eric Adams will do an interview with us. For sure. For sure. Okay, expose Chuck Schumer. All right, well, That would be us teaching him how to grill a burger without putting cheese on the raw end of the hamburger. What a monster. No wonder he's sick all the time, ladies and gentlemen. We are absolutely excited for this new chapter, and we are thrilled to be walking and fighting with you. If you wish to support us, we have one request. Please subscribe to our podcast. Our podcast is available right here. It's the QR code. You can find it at bennyjohnson.com. It's free, obviously, but by subscribing, it helps us strengthen all of the various different appendages of this program and the muscular infrastructure that we're trying to build. If you could subscribe to the podcast, we just say a very big thank you. Our verse of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Verse of the day from Psalms. Our producer's telling me some people want us to expose Elizabeth Warren. Very interesting. Would you like to go to Elizabeth Warren? That's fascinating. Okay, maybe that too. Liz Warren. You know, it'd be really. You know what we should do? We should go to the tribe that Elizabeth Warren claims to be from. No one's ever done that. She claims to be Cherokee. Is that right, ALX? Well, where do they live? If they have a reservation, let's go there. And then let's talk with them about it. Has anybody ever gone to the Indian tribe that she claims to be and asked? You know, it's not going away. Has anybody ever asked the Indian tribes? The Cherokee? She claims to be Cherokee, right? Hey, do you have enough high cheekbones? Isn't that what she said? I have high cheekbones. That's why I'm an Indian. Should we ask the Indians? Should we go to the actual Indians? Where do they live? Where do they live? Warren said that growing up in Oklahoma, that she was a Cherokee and she had Cherokee and Delaware. That's a specific type of Indian tribe, the Delaware heritage. And she referenced to Family Lore, 2008, in response to questions of her ancestry. She released results of a DNA test that indicated that she had, what was the percentage here? It just says distant native ancestry. The percentage was lower than the average American in Native American ancestry. It was 18,000th of a percent. It's wild. It's hilarious. Didn't she release a video on it? Didn't she release this hilarious video on no, I'm an Indian, look. It's 1/1,000,000th. 1/1024th. There it is. Look at that. Okay. However, Native American tribal governments have their own legal and cultural criteria determining tribal citizenship, and they do not base it on DNA tests. The Cherokee Nation stated that using a DNA test to lay claim to any connection to the Cherokee Nation or tribal nation is vaguely inappropriate. Is inappropriate and wrong. Well, it sounds like the Cherokee Nation would really like to chat with us. Warren has since apologized. Okay, so the Cherokee Nation, pull it up. Can we get the Cherokee Nation map, shall we? Maybe there's a viewer who's watching from the Cherokee Nation or somewhere near it and could help us. Here it is, the Cherokee Nation. See how we do this? See how we do this? See how much we love you? I know it's not breaking news, but we'll do it. You can lead us to the right stories. You will never find another show that is more locked in with the chat. I want a map, boys. Where is the Cherokee Nation? Where is that exactly? Cherokee Nation is a sovereign tribal government upon settling in Indian Territory, present-day Oklahoma. After the Indian Removal Act, the Cherokee people established a new government in what is now the city of Tahlequah, Oklahoma. Okay. So let's see. Where is that city, please? Tahlequah, Oklahoma. Prior to the statehood. The Cherokee Nation is the largest tribe in the United States. Okay. Where is that? Looking at a map right now. Okay, so it looks it looks nice. All right. It's kind of maybe when we're in, hey, listen, it's right by Dallas. I mean, it's we could drive there from Dallas. Looks like a long drive, but we could make it. Maybe when we're there in exposing Jasmine Crockett, we just jump on over to Oklahoma. It's not too far. It's kind of in the neighborhood. There it is, Cherokee Nation, right there on the eastern part of Oklahoma. The eastern part of Oklahoma, kind of near Missouri and Arkansas. There it is. We're learning things today. Why don't we go there? We can go there and ask them about Elizabeth Warren. We'll bring a big photo of Elizabeth Warren and say, is this an Indian? She has high cheekbones. It'd be really funny. Cool. All right. We can go chat with them about it. Jerry sent a meme. You have that meme? All right. Just why not? Just why not? Elizabeth Warren during the questioning of RFK Jr. You just can't help ourselves. Here we go. Here we go. All right. We got to end the stream. Things are getting out of hand. These are great ideas. Thank you, chat. We'll do it. We'll do it. What an exciting time to be alive. Maybe we'll take this photo. Maybe we'll take this photo of the Cherokee Nation and we'll ask, hey, is this your leader? Is this, do you accept your new ruler? Yeah. Ooh. What? Why has no one ever done that story? It's such a great idea. Cherokee Indians have a message for Elizabeth Warren. So easy. It's like taking candy from a baby, shooting fish in a barrel with a bow and arrow. Maybe we'll do that. We'll see. Psalms, our verse of the day. Sometimes. Our verse of the day from Psalms. No one who practices deceit will dwell in my house. No one who speaks falsely will stand in my presence. A perfect verse for our current topic. A perfect verse. We'll begin our exposure of Elizabeth Warren with that verse. Just an important reminder on this, not to belabor the point, but if you want to talk about true cultural appropriation, you want to talk about truly taking from indigenous people, and this is the one circumstance that I will absolutely cede all of the arguments to the left. This is a perfect example. Put that image back up. This is a perfect example of stealing from indigenous people. She stole their money. She stole their scholarship money. She took it from them. She did it through, and what does the psalm say? Deceitful practices and speaking falsely. She stole money meant for impoverished Indians. She did. She's a white lady, and she went to Harvard and stole what has to be millions of dollars intended for impoverished populations, victimized populations in America. Let me just use the left's language against them. She is everything that she hates, as is so often the case with these people. All right, well, I do my best not to ascribe. The scriptures are timeless truth. I'm trying not to bring modern day politics, right, and use the Bible. I think that's a horrible practice to use the Bible to try and project modern day politics and things like that. So try not to do that on the program. But since we're talking about it, don't be deceitful in your practices. Don't let deceit dwell in your household. Be upright and righteous. Do not let people who speak falsely stand in your presence. Good. Well, those are words to live by. And ladies and gentlemen, living by the words and the truths of the Bible are how we win. In the end, we do win, which is such a comforting thing. And that's how we're going to wrap the show. Thank you for marching with us. We'll be live in a little bit for Carolyn Levitt's press conference. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
Comey's wig, uncovering something big. Like Big Mike, a honeypot, no better operation cross-dresser. Like Big Mike, they went off the books, now their balls are cooked. Like Big Mike, 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 Mike. Guess what? Guess what? Guess what? Guess what? Everything will be okay. Guess what day? What day? It's hump day. Get it on. Hump day.
The biggest ships in the sea, all owned by the oldest kings, and their dying legacy, media deal weeds. Soon will the Benny Show come to mind, the salt from Lives for Fun. Leave the gold and bring the gun, we sail for #1. Show come to mind, the salt from Lives for Fun. Leave the gold and bring the gun, we sail for #1. The biggest ships in the sea, all owned by the oldest king.